Hi guys, I'm Charles Brownstein from northerntransmissions.com. Thank you as always for checking out Records of My Life. This episode features Mark Gardner from Ride. Let's hear what he talks about.
Hi, this is Mark Gardner from Ride, and I'm going to tell you about 5 albums that changed my life for northerntransmissions.com. Album 1, so thinking about it a little bit chronologically, I think the first album that I remember, I must have been like 8 years old, very young, but going out to buy, or 8 or 9 years old, was I Just Can't Stop It by The Beat, which I guess is what they call the English beat in America, but I mean it's The Beat.
Yeah.
And basically ska music at that time was the first music that just totally caught my ears, like very young ears then. But I remember recording the song "Best Friend" off, on a terrible little mic thing when they used to do the top 40 rundown in England, and and then I thought I have to just buy this album, and it was just, that was it. And that's the first album I just properly remember kind of buying. I might have even got my mum to buy it or something, but just and I just kept looking at the cover. It's like a brilliant cover. And that was like ska music for me was the sort of my in, which for music, and the first sort of music that just made me change my dress sense as well as loving that music. I became a sort of rude boy, ska boy instantly. Sort of moccasins, that sort of Black Harrington patches with select specials. I bought the Ska magazine, and that was me. That was kind of like the first sort of music that really just did a lot for me, basically. I'd have to go to Surf's Up by Beach Boys, because this was an album, my uncle, who's my dad's brother, he played a massive part in me getting into music at a young age. And I think I kind of ended up doing everything that he wanted to do. Like he loved Gretsch guitars, he loved rock and roll, and it's the first guy that sort of sat me in a room, which is actually ironically a street away from where I live in Oxford now. So it's in East Oxford. It was a very different sort of East Oxford then, and him playing kind of like Runaway Boys by the Stray Cats and Eddie Cochran songs, and then Beach Boys, this album Surf's Up, like at high volume. And again, I was really young, and it just made a massive impression on me. And I'd never heard music like that. And even to this day, there's still not another record for me like Surf's Up. It kind of, it's a sort of transcendental music for me, and especially the song Surf's Up. And sadly, I lost my uncle at an early age, which sort of totally did my head in. But I think that was one of the records he was buried with, because that kind of meant so much to him. And therefore it meant a lot to me. Teenage years, a big part of mine and Andy's coming together at Cheney School was a mutual love for the Smiths. So I'd probably, any of the Smiths albums I could say, but probably the Hatful of Hollow one, where they'd kind of, it's a bit of a compilation thing, the blue one, which again was a sort of game changer for me. Before that point, at school, I was quite into I got quite into the hip hop movement, the initial stuff like Afrika Bambaataa and Perfect Beat and all that sort of stuff. And Andy, I think, had already kind of got the Smiths before me at school, so I was kind of more on that sort of breakdancey sort of stuff, the early stuff, which I thought was amazing, the Johnson Crew, Wild Style, and all of that. But not, I'm not very New York kind of sort of hip hop guy. I was never really very good at that, and slowly I started then wanting to play guitar, and I realised, it's sort of part of the initial time of getting to know Andy really well. He was a great guitar player even then, and around that time we sort of just we gravitated towards each other, and then I started to realise that actually the Smiths were a band that did speak to me more than anyone or any other music was at that point. I think he felt a similar way about it, but and it was it was a catalyst in getting myself and Andy playing music together. I think the Smiths would have to be in there. And then the other album I bought, which someone had talked about, and I thought the name was kind of cool, and I kind of knew about it, was Cocteau Twins, Treasure. So any of those Cocteau Twins, you know, albums around that time, Bluebell Knoll, Treasure, Heaven or Las Vegas, again, for me, that's music that nothing sounded like that, and it still doesn't. You know, they're kind of like completely their own entity, and I've been fortunate enough to end up working with Robin. We just did an album together last year, which is a bit of a plug on that, but yeah, that and during those early sort of Ride days, and probably when we first came to Vancouver, I definitely remember, because Ride was pretty mad existence, that a lot of the time on the bus I'd be listening to Cocteau Twins and some of the 4AD bands like Dead Can Dance at that point, just to kind of take a breath, you know, and it just sent me to a beautiful place. And I think, you know, for me, like Robin Guthrie, Kevin Shields are sort of like, for me, the kind of godfathers of that kind of that sound, you know, that big beautiful sound, which yeah, and I think especially Robin Guthrie, I think it's really his thing, you know, that first sort of found that massive sort of sound and way of using guitars. So I'd put the Cocteau Twins in there. I'd probably go to Joni Mitchell Blue. I'm in Canada now as well, so I suddenly thought about that as I said about it. But for me, probably one of the, just to hear the most exposed, soulful, not in the Aretha Franklin way, obviously, but like someone really exposing their soul and just being able to sing that purely about the subject matter she's singing about. I just think Blue's a really amazing record. And yeah, probably, I mean, I love Kate Bush, I like lots of female artists, obviously, but for me, that would be my ultimate record from a female artist. It's just so sort of pure and beautiful. I mean, just absolutely love that record. So yeah, there's 5. If I was going to go to 6, then I'd be talking in sort of Bob Marley, I guess, Exodus. Obviously, I've forgotten the Beatles. How can you forget that? So Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts would have to be in there as well.